In the grand halls of Sweden's royal court, a bizarre fate awaited Adolf Frederick, a monarch whose reign was marred by a decadent obsession with food. In 1771, the king's appetite would lead to a death that would leave the world speechless. What drove this once strong ruler to consume himself to death? A tale of excess, indulgence, and a shocking, unspeakable end, one that history would struggle to believe. This is the tragic, bizarre death of Adolf Frederick of Sweden. Adolf Frederick was no ordinary king. A ruler of Sweden, he was known for his kindness, intelligence, and remarkable popularity. However, behind his regal image, there lay an insatiable appetite. In the early years of his reign, his indulgence was nothing short of legendary. But on one fateful night in February 1771, this love for food would spiral into a tale of madness. The royal court prepared a lavish banquet, unaware it would become the setting for one of history's most bizarre royal deaths. It was a dinner like no other. The table was laden with all manner of extravagant dishes, lobster, caviar, roasted meats, and piles of pastries. But what truly stole the show was the dessert. Adolf Frederick had a passion for the sweet things in life, especially semla, a traditional Swedish bun filled with almond paste and cream. Little did anyone know this seemingly innocent meal would prove to be his undoing. The king ate not one, not two, but a staggering 14 semla buns that night. Despite the royal court's growing concern, Adolf Frederick continued to indulge. He had no plans of stopping. The once slim monarch, who had been described as handsome in his youth, was now a man whose body had betrayed him. His appetite was the only thing that seemed to give him joy in the later years of his life. As his weight increased, so did his obsession. But as the night wore on, the royal physicians began to exchange nervous glances. They knew that what the king was doing wasn't just overeating, it was a dangerous, reckless game. Throughout his reign, Adolf Frederick had indulged in lavish meals, but this was no ordinary banquet. His obsession with food, particularly desserts, had become a royal joke. His courtiers and family members whispered behind his back, mocking his inability to resist the excesses of courtly feasts. He could never get enough. But unlike other monarchs of his time, who maintained control over their appetites, Adolf Frederick's weakness became his downfall. It wasn't just the food, it was his complete surrender to it. After the feast, the king staggered to his chambers, feeling an intense discomfort in his stomach. It wasn't long before he collapsed in agony. His body, overwhelmed by the extreme intake of rich foods, could no longer endure. His servants rushed to his aid, but the damage had already been done. The once vibrant ruler now lay dying in his royal bed, surrounded by physicians, who could do little more than watch the tragic end unfold. His royal death would send shockwaves across Europe, a stark reminder of the dangers of excess. Adolf Frederick's death is often referred to as the most bizarre royal demise in history. His obsession with food and his tragic end casts a long shadow over his legacy. The king, known for his benevolence, would forever be remembered for his tragic flaw. A monarch who ruled an empire, but ultimately lost his life to an uncontrollable desire to feast. In Sweden, his death became a darkly comic tale, shared for generations, a warning against the dangers of excess in both food and life. Adolf Frederick's death wasn't just a tale of personal tragedy, it was a commentary on the dangers of excess. In a world where indulgence was seen as a mark of wealth and power, the king's untimely end became a chilling reminder. His death highlighted the darker side of royal indulgence, turning what should have been a celebration of life into a gruesome spectacle. The message was clear. Even those who seemed untouchable could be undone by their vices. The king, it seemed, had fallen victim to his own greed. Many have wondered whether Adolf Frederick's death could have been avoided. Should his court have intervened? Was there a deeper psychological issue at play, driving the king to seek solace in food? Some historians argue that his obesity and overeating were symptoms of a personal struggle, an attempt to fill a void. But despite the speculation, one thing remains certain. His untimely demise serves as a reflection of the personal battles fought behind the gilded walls of the palace. What truly stands out in Adolf Frederick's death was the role the semla played. The seemingly harmless pastry became an infamous symbol of his gluttony. What began as a royal treat turned into a notorious symbol of indulgence gone wrong. The Swedish people, who once revered their king, would never see semla in the same light again. Today it remains a sweet, albeit tragic reminder of how the king's uncontrollable passion for food led to his unfortunate end. Historians have speculated that Adolf Frederick's death might not have been simply a case of physical weakness, but an emotional one. Some believe he was using food as a form of self-medication. A man who had never quite found peace in his own life, his compulsion to overeat was his way of coping with the pressures of being a monarch. Perhaps it wasn't just the semla that killed him. It was the deep psychological toll of ruling, of never feeling fully content, of using food as an escape from the heavy burden of leadership. Adolf Frederick's death has continued to spark conversations about the dangers of excess in all forms. His tale is an extreme example, but it serves as a reminder to all who come after him. Moderation in all things, whether food, power, or indulgence, is the key to longevity and happiness. His story, tragic as it may be, has been passed down through history as a cautionary tale, encouraging future generations to find balance before it's too late. The king's lesson, though grim, remains timeless. In the end, Adolf Frederick's death will always be remembered as one of the strangest in royal history. A monarch who died not from war, conspiracy, or assassination, but from the very thing that gave him comfort: food. His life and death serve as a reminder that even kings, with all their wealth and power, can fall victim to their own weaknesses. And while history has left a grim legacy, the bizarre tale of his death continues to captivate and intrigue. A king consumed by his own desires, literally,